Welcome back to DS Trucks. In today's video, we're going to be doing brake calipers, loaded pair, going on this 2016 F250. We've got the truck pulled in the shop, and we've got our tarps hanging to add a little warmth into the shop. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this job going. Alright guys, so we already got it jacked up. We've got our jack stands placed right here, 2 3-ton jack stands, and we've got our floor jack just in the center on the diff. Just applying light pressure just as an extra precaution, but everything is up, and our first tire is coming off of the truck. We're gonna start by taking this one off first. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this going. All right guys, so we got the rotor off and the caliper off. Very easy going here. So yeah, I want to show you guys a little trick here with the brake fluid. Alright, so I want to show you guys this little trick. Basically, I've got some paper towel here to kind of cushion this rod up against this leather seat, just to make a little spot where it won't dig in. But basically, all we're going to do is we're going to move our seat forward just ever so slightly to just press down the brake pedal that little bit. Now, pressing down the brake pedal just that little bit, it's probably just enough to turn on the brake lights. That little bit though will prevent brake fluid from leaking as we're working on this truck. And we're actually taking the calipers off of this truck right now. He's loosening up the bleeders, as you can see. And normally when you loosen up your bleeder screws, they just constantly leak. But because we depressed the pedal the way that we did, these bleeder screws are not leaking. As you can see, they are not dripping. So instead of us clamping our hose and potentially causing damage to the hose, we're actually just using the brake pedal. By just depressing it that little bit, it doesn't leak out and we don't lose brake fluid. So then when we come back to bleed our system, it's gonna be a lot quicker and a lot easier to bleed the system. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next scene. Alright, so we got our caliper on. We've got our banjo bolt tightened up with our copper gaskets in there. You put one on both sides, right?
Yes, sir.
Alright, and what we noticed with our brake job, using these Duralast parts that you get from AutoZone, we're actually a little bit disappointed. So if you look in here, you can see that the caliper or the brake pad can move just a little bit in here, and that is what you want. You want the brake pad to be somewhat free in the bracket, the caliper bracket. Now, we originally put these brake pads in and they were so tight you kind of had to tap on them a little just to get them to fit into the caliper, and then they were just the fitment was so tight that it wouldn't allow any movement on the brake pads, and that's why you get this uneven wear when the caliper grabs this brake pad and brings it in contact with the rotor. If that brake pad isn't allowed to move or become free from the rotor, then you'll have uneven wear, failed rotor or failed calipers, because the heat will smoke this caliper. If that pressure can't come off of the brake pad, it'll make excessive heat and burn up the caliper, and that's what happened. These AutoZone parts, they are remanufactured. You can see the Ford Moco label on these, so they are remanufactured, but a little disappointed in the quality that we got from AutoZone. I would say it's probably worth it to go ahead and get Motorcraft. It's probably going to be the move in the future. I mean, even though this stuff's warranted for life and they covered it, don't help that you have to go in here and tear everything apart again. It's not a good situation. But anyway, we're almost done here. Let's shoot over to the other side. Same thing, we had to grind a little bit of material off of the pad on this side as well, because and at the end of the day, the calipers being remanufactured, it's probably these pads that have a weird issue. It's probably the pads, because all this other stuff is Motorcraft. It's just, you know, they get the cores in and then they repaint them and stuff and send them out. But we got these able to just be able to float. You want the pads to float in the brackets, not be seized up tight in the brackets. So anyway, we're going to keep on moving along. We're about to spray these down with brake clean, these rotors. and then we'll bleed the system, and that's going to be the critical part that I definitely want to show, is bleeding the brakes. How do we bleed the brakes? Anyway, see you guys at the next scene. All right, so we're going to talk about bleeding the system real quick. Number one, we're going to clean around this brake cap with the alcohol wipe real quick, just to get any potential dirt that could fall in there away. We don't want anything to fall in there. We are using .4 brake fluid in the system. That is what is recommended from Ford. Now, that's one of the things to look out for. Is the .3 doesn't quite have as high a boiling point as .4, but when it comes to bleeding the brakes, there is a certain procedure that you want to follow when you bleed the brakes. So basically, because we have two people here, we're going to be using the pedal. When I loosen the caliper, before I start to turn this loose, I'm going to say down. And as the pedal starts to go down, and he's not going to go down all the way to the floor, he's not going to go down real fast, he's just going to go down like he's coming to a normal stop. And then he's going to let his pedal fall about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way down, but not all the way to the floor. The reason you don't want to go all the way to the floor is because as this truck has been accumulating all these miles over these years, this master cylinder has never been down there, because under normal conditions, the brake system does not have to go to the floor. So if you put the pedal to the floor, you're putting your master cylinder into a territory where there is no wear, because the cylinder never travels that far. So it's not a good practice to bring the brake pedal to the floor, just halfway, maybe 3/4 at the max down, and then I'll tighten my bleeder screw again before I say up again. Now, ideally, it's better to have a clear hose on here as well, just so you can see the air gap come out, but we do not have a clear hose, so we're just going to have to catch our brake fluid. We have a pan that's going to just collect the brake fluid, which is actually right here. Perfect, thank you. And that's going to catch that brake fluid. And yeah, so when he goes down, he's not going to be going real fast, because otherwise it's going to squirt the fluid far. We don't want to squirt it far. We just want it to kind of come out from here and just drop down into our pan. So we're going to go ahead and bleed these. Also keeping an eye on our fluid up top, making sure we don't get low up here. So yeah, we can see our level. I'll go ahead and top it off just to be safe. If this ever runs dry, that's not cool. It's not good to let your master cylinder ever run dry. So let's go ahead and get this going. All right, guys, so here we go, bleeding the calipers. We already did the passenger side, and we're on to the driver's side now. Let's go ahead and get this going. Got this loose already. Throw my wrench on here, and I get ready for communication with the guy inside of the truck. You ready inside the truck?
Yes, sir.
All right, down, up, 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 down. How's that feel?
Yeah.
It's gotten better?
Yup.
It's crazy is there's still air in here, and you can kind of tell as I'm bleeding it that there's air a little bit more than what we introduced into the system. So whoever bled the brakes last Must went a little quicker than yeah, you got to talk to that guy. So let's go ahead and work a little bit more of this air out, uh, and we'll go from there. Down, up, down, up, down. Yeah, little spurts, little spurts of air still popping out of there. Down, up. I'm sorry, up, down, up, down, up. Okay. Go back to the other side. Get some more of that air out. But yeah, guys, this is pretty much the process. We're actually going back and forth side to side a little bit. Where we started on this far side, but because there's so much air in the system for whatever reason, maybe the master cylinder came dry or something at another point. But yeah, the brakes are definitely working now, but I want to make sure we get as much air out as possible. All right, guys, that's it, and that's that. That brake job, all in all, went pretty smooth. Just a matter of a little bit of finesse when it came to those brake pads. The AutoZone brake pads are good. Their warranty is pretty good. The materials they use, they're pretty good. But for whatever reason, just being cognizant of certain things, I think that brake job was done by someone else, and I think just from maybe the brake pads being, maybe the fitment not being quite as good as it could be, caused the uneven wear and premature failure. So not that AutoZone parts and the materials and things like that are horrible, but you just want to make sure that, you know, things get, I don't know, you work with things a little bit, because the pads will fit too tight, and then if you go and apply the brakes and it won't relax or retract off of the rotor, then you're going to have uneven wear, high heat in the caliper failure, things like that. So we took a grinder and we made sure that they were free fitting and free floating in the caliper bracket. So all in all, the project went good. That's how we bleed our brakes. Ideally, you want to clear holes on the brake line, but that's how we do it. I can do another video on why we do it like that, or why you want to go slow, why you want to have a pause a little bit in between. I can go into that in another video, but anyway, I just wanted to say everything went good. I touched base with the owner of that truck, and it's been a couple of days, maybe about a week, and everything is still working good and stopping good, and yeah, everything worked out. So anyway, this is Sean. This is DS Trucks. My name is Sean. See you guys in the next video. Over and out.